Welcome to episode 2 of my latest obsession. This podcast is just a little fun outlet for me to talk about random rabbit holes I've fallen into. I would name this podcast Falling Down the Rabbit Hole, but I googled that name and it looks like it's already taken. So this is where we are. Anyways, today in this episode, I am going to be talking about an orca attack that just got my head spinning. Before we get started, I was doing this thing where I talk a little bit about a movie or a TV show that I had been recently watching and just giving my little take on that. I just finished season 2 of How I Met Your Father, and I'm really sad to hear that it got canceled. I actually did enjoy watching season 2. I enjoyed season 1 as well. I really loved watching Hilary Duff play that role. I thought she did a really good job. I thought it was really relatable. The cast... Well, I don't know if the cast, how old everyone is in the cast, but I know that they were showing everybody in their 30s. And I think because I'm in my 30s now, it's actually really fun to see, people like me, I guess. So I thought it was really funny. I can see how maybe it just didn't grab the audience because I will say that it was slightly forgettable. I feel bad saying that because I enjoyed the show so much, but it was slightly forgettable in terms of the storyline. You really remember Sophie and Jesse, I believe. Is this name Jesse? Because I remember him on Private Practice, and I'm pretty sure his name was Jesse, or at least start with the J on Private Practice as well. And that really distracted me. I was like, oh my god, this guy has come so far from Private Practice. Haven't we all? Private Practice, what a time. Anyways, I loved Samantha Jones as the older Sophie. I mean, I know that's not her real name, but she's always Samantha Jones, am I right? And she really did a great job because she's not actually Samantha Jones in the show. She doesn't do anything like Samantha Jones in the show. So there were moments where she kind of would say something and I loved it because she has such great humor. And I loved it when she talked about how remember when I convinced your Aunt Val not to go blonde? And they're like, yeah, why did you do that? She's like, because I'm the only blonde in this group. Loved it. I thought that was so funny because I think you think of an older version of yourself as being more mature, and to see that she still had that little bit of immaturity, it was hysterical to me. I loved Sophie, I love Val, I love Jesse, and I forget everyone else. Ellen, I think, is one of them. I'm really terrible with remembering names of characters, especially, like I said, if I've seen you on something else, Samantha Jones, for example, I only refer to you as that, but I liked a lot of their characteristics, and I liked that it was funny and relatable, but I guess it's hard because there's nothing really that held onto my attention that long. It's really sad. I actually was hoping for more. I'm sure How I Met Your Mother was the same, and who knows, it was a different time. The way it was produced is differently. It was actually on a network show versus this is streamed on Hulu. So I'm sure maybe they just had success because they were on a good time and when everyone was watching. I don't know. I didn't look at that part, but I'm very sad to hear that they were canceled. All right. Let's start with this episode. We are talking about when an orca and a shark go head to head. And how I got down that hole was that 10 years ago, can you believe it? It's been 10 years, but 10 years ago, the documentary Blackfish came out. And I remember when I watched it, it had a huge impact on me just because I didn't know that much about orcas. To me, they were just killer whales, like a sperm whale, like a humpback whale. It's just a big ass whale. And for whatever reason, they're called a killer whale because they just, to me, I'm because they kill. Duh. But now, to me, they're not just killer whales, they're orcas. And they have emotions and they have families and they're very, very intelligent. And it was so sad for me to hear that they just are miserable when they're in captivity. So, like I said, that documentary did have an impact on me, and it's not like I immediately went down rabbit holes about orcas afterwards. I was always interested. If something popped up on my YouTube feed, I would watch it. And that kind of progressed to learning more about sharks as well. And with sharks, a lot of that had to do with combating my fear of sharks, because if you've ever watched the movie Jaws or maybe another shark movie, they do make it quite frightening. And I think I wanted to also know what was so popular about sharks. Like, I get making them into horror movies like Jaws again, but I didn't understand like Shark Week, you know? So going down that, another hole. I was living in San Francisco at this time, and in San Francisco you can go whale watching. They have whale watching tours, but I was like, obviously not every whale is going to show up on this tour, so I kind of looked up to see what whales specifically would I see. Would I even see sharks? Because again, I'm kind of interested in sharks. I don't really want to cross paths with orcas ever, so I was not interested in seeing an orca, but sharks I was a little bit more interested in. And that's when I learned that there has been an attack between an orca and shark by San Francisco. And I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, I did not know I need to know this, but I am very happy to find this information. All right, let's go into everything. I watched this video. It's a very long video, but this was years ago, so I am kind of retelling it through memory because I could not find it again on YouTube. Like, has that ever happened to you where you watch a video like a million years ago and you're like, let me go look it up again, and it's gone? I'm telling it by memory, but I also did watch Killer Shark versus Killer Whale on Disney Plus, but it's by National Geographic, so I'll be kind of using them as a reference as well because they do mention this attack. So the attack happened by the Farallon Islands near San Francisco in 1997. Before this, scientists didn't know what would happen if the two crossed each other. They weren't even sure if they had even crossed paths. So this is the first time anyone had ever witnessed them meeting, them attacking, all of it. From Killer Shark versus Killer Whale, they talk about how this specific attack also led to new questions as well as some new discoveries. So before I get into the fight itself, I want to give a little bit of background. Sharks are quite common in the Bay Area because we get a lot of sea lions. If you've ever been to Pier 39 in San Francisco, you see a ton of sea lions. But in San Francisco, it's like 60 degrees 9 months out of the year. So sharks tend to come in the warmer months, which is around October, November, and literally like right now. Okay, we'll get into it, but you could potentially see sharks right now in San Francisco. I always think that. I'm always like, oh yeah, around Thanksgiving is the best time to go see sharks, but I always forget. Anyways, usually what happens is that in like October, November, they come to San Francisco, they feed off of the sea lions, and then they head to Hawaii, and then they kind of do this circle between like Hawaii and San Francisco. So they don't spend much time in San Francisco. I can't remember if they went down to Southern California as well, but I just know it's kind of just that loop. They have a season that they come, which is around right now. What's not common in the Bay Area are orcas. So in 1997, scientists got an alert that they spotted 2 orcas. So everyone's like, oh shit, get on the boat, let's head out of there. And they start buzzing over there. And the reason why there's 2 orcas, they were there, was because they were actually feeding off of a sea lion. And so after they, enjoyed themselves, they were kind of happy, swimming around, like life is great. Everyone on the boat was like, this is so cool, never seen this before, so glad we're witnessing this. And then they see the fin of a great white shark. So everyone's paying very close attention to this because they have no idea how this is going to play out. Like, they don't know how these two interact. Is like one of them gonna get territorial and attack, or are they just gonna leave each other alone? Like, what's gonna happen? And even though I just said, are they gonna leave each other alone, I think everyone did have a sense that they probably wouldn't ignore each other and a fight would break out. So they do notice that they were started like kind of swimming around each other. But the fight itself actually was anticlimactic. I think we were all expecting like a long-winded fight with lots of splashing water, maybe even the shark jumping out of the water. I don't know. And they didn't get that. So the orca did kill the shark fairly quickly, like almost like they knew what to do. And so that led to one of the big questions. How did the orcas know what to do? What did they do? If you've seen the documentary Blackfish, you know that orcas talk to each other. They mostly swim in pods, as they call them, and they are very social. So they're guessing it's possible that one of these orcas may have communicated to another pod, and that's when they learned how to kill a shark. Easy peasy, right? Also, the orcas didn't just kill the shark and leave. They did eat the shark's liver, I believe maybe some other internal organs, but mostly the liver, and then just left the carcass to sink. The scientists, as well as me, want to know, how did they do it? Like, how did they just kill the shark? Like, come on. We really all expected some big grand fight. But, well, first of all, if you've ever gone on YouTube and watched this video of an orca trying to get a sea lion off of a piece of ice, you see that it is very calculated. So the sea lion's on this ice trying to basically stay out of the water, so that if they were to go in the water, they knew they were going to be attacked and eaten by the orcas. So they were like, if I stay right here, I'm going to be good. And what the orcas are doing is that they start making these waves, and they're huge waves. So then the sea lion loses balance and eventually falls off the ice, and the orcas, do their thing. So they are hunters, predators through and through. They strategize. So what's the method that they use to kill the shark? Long research, they learned that if you can get a shark upside down, then they go into a state called tonic immobility. And in Lisa's terms, that just means that they basically pass out. And then it looks like the orca will kind of carry the shark up to the surface and basically get the shark to suffocate to death. So it's an easy kill. There's no squirming, wiggling, bashing each other. They don't even have to be worried about the shark's teeth. I believe what they think that the orcas did in 1997 was hit the shark in a way that caused the shark to flip over. And once they're flipped over, their belly's up and they're on their back, that's when they're in their tonic immobility. And then once they're there, the orca will grab it and, bring it up to the surface and, suffocate the shark till it's dead. And then they eat the liver. I forgot I wanted to say something. One thing I wanted to bring up was one of the experts or whoever that witnessed the 1997 attack. They did say that when the orca got the shark flipped upside down and in their mouth, at the time they didn't realize that the shark was in tonic immobility. They just saw that the orca had the shark in its mouth, and they said that the orca swam towards them, and it looked like it was showing off its kill. They described it as a cat bring a mouse to you, hey, look what I did, isn't this cool? So I think that's actually what they were doing. They lifted it up to suffocate the shark, and they just so happened to cross by the boat. They could have also been you want a show, here's a show, I don't know, but that is something I wanted to say that I just remembered. But scientists use tonic immobility to tag sharks, and that I learned from killer shark versus killer whale. They didn't specify if they learned this from the orca attack, but it makes it a lot easier to tag sharks. The last thing that happened that was super crazy was that after the attack, we didn't see any more sharks after that. It's not like they never came back. It's just that, that was kind of the beginning, middle of the season. They were expecting to see sharks for maybe another couple of weeks or another month, but they were gone. So why? How did the sharks know? Did they communicate? What happened there? So while they were doing their research about the tonic immobility, they also managed to get the scent of a dead shark and then put that in the water. And when you see it online, you see that when they have baby sharks, they put the scent in the water and the baby sharks rush out of there. They're nope, gotta get out of here. So that was a theory, and they tested it. Basically been proven that when sharks smell the scent of another dead shark, they are out of there. So after the attack in 1997, they tagged a lot more sharks at that time because they really wanted to know what happened. If it were to happen again, they wanted to make sure that they knew where the sharks went, blah blah blah. So there actually wasn't another attack that happened in 2000, and at that time they had a shark that they were able to see what exactly happened. And what they saw was that the shark, when they came nearby and smelled the scent, they immediately swam down 1,600 feet and then back towards Hawaii. So in case you didn't know, because I wasn't sure about this, I was like 90% sure, but I wanted to Google it and make sure. Sharks can swim down deeper than orcas because orcas need to come up for air. I'm not breathing. I don't know why. I'm like holding my breath when I talk. Another cool thing that I learned on Reddit was that Mythbusters actually did an episode testing out if sharks were repelled by the scent of a dead shark. So I didn't watch that. Maybe I will. I don't know. So those were the two big questions that came out of the attack in 1997. After watching Killer Shark versus Killer Whale, I've also learned that 2 more recorded shark attacks have happened more recently, and it seems like there are less sharks nowadays, apparently. They aren't sure if these sharks found a better feeding ground, if it's climate change, or if the orcas are just hunting them for more. They're just hunting them more and more. The movie really focuses on an attack that happened in 2015 in Australia, and from what the experts were saying, they said that the attack looked a lot more coordinated versus what the experts saw in 1997. Honestly, after I watched the video about the attack in 1997 and kind of going through my phase with learning about sharks and whatnot, I was more intrigued, and I wanted to go in a cage and see a shark in real life. So I wanted to do one of those shark cage tank thingies. But after watching that, and I also want to go whale watching too, by the way, so it's not just sharks, but I would like to go whale watching. After watching Killer Shark versus Killer Whale, the attack that happened in 2015, the people that were out there were actually bringing tourists out to put them in a shark tank. And there were people in the shark tank while the attack was happening. And if I was in that shark tank while that attack was happening, I'd be like, get me out of here. I do not want to be underwater at this time. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I have seen the movie 47 Meters Down, and no way. Like, no. So I would have noped out of there pretty quickly, and to hear that potentially there's more and more attacks happening, and on top of that, there were attacks by orcas near Portugal on fishing boats. I do not want to be near an orca. Like I said, I think they're fabulous creatures, but I want to see them from a distance. You know, they're pretty scary to me, especially knowing how intelligent they are, how methodical they are. No, like that, no way. Like, I can be around a shark, like I think I could muster up the courage to get in the tank to see a shark, but an orca, no. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. I hope this information was as entertaining. I can't talk, apparently. I hope this information was as entertaining for you as it was for me. I've gone back and forth between if I should do an episode about sharks or not, just because there's so much information about sharks out there already. But it is my podcast, so I can do whatever I want. I'll sit on it and we'll see. Anyways, thank you so much for listening and hanging out with me. I appreciate you, and I hope you come back next week to see what rabbit hole I've fallen into next. Talk to you then.